Welcome back to Western Kabuki. I am joined, as always, by my co-host, June. How are you?
I'm doing really well. You know, living exactly the life we've been meant to live. We're living in the context of everything that came before us. I think Kamala is speaking at the convention very soon, and
you still don't know who the special guest is.
I just opened Twitter and found out who it is. Do you want me to tell you?
Me. Okay. Actually, tell me. Fuck it.
Okay, it's Beyonce. It was Beyonce after all. It wasn't George W. Bush.
I like Beyonce, but I was really hoping again for the necromancer that was summoning him this year.
Right? That would have been ideal.
We are also joined this evening by you know him, you love him, the smiling man, Ed Zitron. How are you doing, buddy?
Hello, I'm doing well. They're saying I'm goated. But I'm not a goat.
Man, it seems like every time you come back on, you've got something new going on.
Yeah, events are happening all the time.
Events are happening all the time. You have been a busy guy. Congrats on all the successes. But why don't you let our audience fill us in on? Can we talk about? I'll cut this if not. Can we talk about the book?
Can we say this? Yes, we can talk about the book. Of course.
Talk about the book. Okay, I wasn't sure if we were allowed to.
No, it's public knowledge now.
Okay. Awesome.
Yes, I got a book
tell
deal.
Us about the book.
I got a book deal working with Portfolio, which is an imprint of Penguin Random House. It's called Why Everything is Broken, and it's basically about how the tech industry has gaslit us into believing that we are behind the times when in fact it's them who have broken all of this shit. And it will be a nice little book about the people that broke it, how they broke it, why the things that you use every day have stopped working, and the specific reasons, which are a mixture of historic events, greed, and a lack of regulation, and how we might fix them. And then the names and addresses and personal numbers of every single tech executive published. And I'll be updating.
So yeah, if you want to make a real difference, you will buy this book and then specifically don't read it.
Follow the instructions.
Skip to the instructions, and we'll all go together and we'll change the world.
The bit at the back which says, "Here is where they live."
Listen to the audio book backwards for the secret instructions on what to do with that. So we're going to talk about a couple things tonight. Just your last, I guess, a combination of your last few newsletters. First of all, let's talk about, because I think you said how we can fix some of this stuff, and a lot of this has to do with I think this is your most recent, the Monopoly Money newsletter that you'd written about antitrust and how that's going to play a big portion of how we fix some of this. So
yeah, I feel like in the past when we've had you on, we just talk about what's broken and what's wrong with everything, because there's a lot that's broken and wrong, especially in the tech world. Yeah, no, you're like we're doing theory, like you're doing theory and
game
you're
theory.
Like teaching us. You're the tech theory, like you're the modern day tech Marx. So please, yeah.
So Google search has been declared a monopoly, and I have an upcoming episode. Actually, by the time this goes out, it may actually be out with a guy called Matt Stoller, who writes the Big It's just the Big newsletter. Big Technology is a different newsletter. And the long and short of it is Google has been declared a monopoly, which means the government has officially said this is a monopoly, which allows the government to start taking actions in a hearing called a remedy hearing. Now, this could take many different forms. There could be the depressing option where Google is slapped on the wrist and told, naughty, naughty, hand us some money. And then this all goes away. This has happened before. It happened with Microsoft, with a few things they couldn't do. But with Google, it's not looking like it's going to go down smooth, because aside from all this, there was a trial between Epic Games and Google that declared Google's Play Store a monopoly as well. Now, that one, the federal judge on that case, I'm paraphrasing here, he basically said, when Google said, this is going to cost us so much money to change. This is going to cost us so much money to change, man. And the judge basically said, not my fucking problem, man. Maybe you shouldn't have built a monopoly. And the judge said, I'm going to tear down these barriers, which fucking rocks. It's so cool. I don't know why I'm like rah-rah for a federal judge, but I mean, this is what the government's meant to do.
Take the W when you can.
When they're taking on like these objectively pretty awful companies, and not even for like an anti-woke way, but like Google's objectively a pretty horrible company in what it's done to like internet search and advertising. Like, it's a big W.
It is.
Can I ask a dumb guy question, Ed?
No, there are no dumb questions.
Well, it was the Play Store thing too, but then I think is this a different case where the judge had said it was actually search was the monopoly? Are there multiple cases going on?
Yes, there are multiple cases. There's actually another different monopoly case. So there is the antitrust case from the Department of Justice against Google. And that was where they were found to have a monopoly over Google search. There is another antitrust case coming up in a couple weeks about Google's ad business. And then there is a separate one, a case where Epic sued Google for having a monopoly over the Google Play Store. Forgive me for not having the full details in front of me. And that one is the one where the judge said, not my fucking problem. Now, the antitrust case, the one with Google being a monopoly, it's important because the first step is literally saying the government has made... Because in the way this works, and I literally confirmed this Matt Stoller this morning, which is why I know anything... So in this case, the way to understand it is it wasn't like the government sued Google and then the government declared at the end, we have decided this is the case. The government sued Google and a federal judge sided with the government and said that Google search is a monopoly. As a result, it means that Google is basically controlling the search market through mob-like tendencies, paying people off and making it basically impossible to go elsewhere. Now... What's interesting about this is, had this happened like a year ago, I don't think it would have even gone through. I mean, this has been in the case for years, but I don't know if they'd have won a year ago. But I feel like everyone has kind of just soured on big tech on account of shit sucking big donkey dongs. Sorry, Babu. Sorry, Babu's a huge tech booster.
Yeah, no, I've noticed that too. Like, granted, I don't know a lot about the tech world, but like I feel like when I was much younger, it felt like there was like, you know, everyone worshipped the tech guy. You know, everyone was like, oh, Bill Gates. Oh, who was the Apple? Steve Jobs. And, you know, some people for mostly political reasons are still doing that with Elon Musk. But beyond like him, there's not like a tech wizard anymore. You know, there's not someone that like is going to change the world. They're going to revolutionize the internet or do these things. Like, you talk to anyone, like I talk to people. I am not a big fan of big tech and where like tech is going, and like the forced inclusion of AI into basically every single piece of technology out there. Mm-hmm. Like, I know a couple of people, I forget what they're called, but I know someone who has switched entirely to like a Chinese built phone that is like
that is not phone. An upgrade.
No, it's not an upgrade, but it's like it's like not the tech world. I forget what it's called, but it's like a totally like a move away from like smartphone technology, because it's not a smartphone.
Oh, it's just
you guys know that I've done that,
phone.
Right? I've told both of you guys this. I use my everyday carry is a flip phone now. I have my iPhone that I use to have to use for certain posts? Things.
You don't?
On my laptop when I'm ready to search them out, as opposed to having them clobbered over my fucking head by push notifications.
No, I need my posts.
Yeah,
my treats.
But that's like the thing is, like, I feel like there's a big movement, maybe not like majority of the population in the world, but like in certain like portions of communities, a lot of people are moving away from like the current pull of technology.
It's bad.
And
it's so bad.
That's the thing. So you talk about the before times. You talk about the times when it's like, why did people like it before? That's because it was objectively cool. It was not perfect. There was so much shit that was bad. No, like, we were all being used on some level. But if you think about when the iPhone came out, or even like the iPhone 3G or what have you, these were huge meteoric changes in the way we lived our lives. Put aside social media and the problems we had, and even I like social media, I think it's great, but
I do too.
I think that there are problems with it. But nevertheless, you went from having these kind of dumb devices where texting was difficult, where you couldn't fucking listen to your voicemail without going through all of these things, all of this rigmarole.
Sure.
And you had this magical device that could do this thing, and all these problems were solved. And then 20 years later, you're like, yeah, well, I'll try and use Google search, and it just gives me 4 different kinds of web forum. None of which is, like, I look up a tech support problem, and it's 4 different kinds of web forum with 4 links each one with a person saying my precise problem and no one giving a solution. And that's how most people experience tech today. People used to experience to be like, wow, I can connect to my friends, my family, someone who stalked me in high school. Like, great, all these people. I can use this device. I can look at my email on the go, which used to be a good idea. And these were all things that we enjoyed. Now, the actual experience of using technology is kind of shit. And there are people who will say, he's a cynic, he's a pessimist, he doesn't. I love technology. I love my gizmos and my doodads. I'm doodad maxing. I'm gizmo pilled. And
I love a device. I do love a good
device.
plastic device. Yeah.
That's kind of why I feel like maybe 10 to 15 years ago was like the apex of technology. It was the era of the doodad. Like to get ready to go out, I'd get my DSLR, I'd get my fucking iPod, I'd get my phone. You know what I mean? You had gadgets.
And you still had all these things today. But like, for example, go on ESPN.com. And you will probably hit some kind of weird advertisement. The ESPN app is one of the single most user-hostile things that I've ever seen, or indeed any mobile website. Every mobile website is like 4 different quadrants on your phone taken up by a bunch of other shit, and your phone increases to 150 degrees and melts through your pocket.
It literally stalled out my phone to open ESPN,
which is insane. It's one of the most popular websites or apps in the world, and it's just fucking broken. You go and look at shit on Google search, it's broken.
It's understandable when apps like these were broken like 20 years ago, but like
they weren't this broken.
This day and age, no, and like they're broken in different ways. Like they were broken before, like just
everybody
not functional.
To pivot to video, that was a big one.
But
God,
my
pivot
god,
to video was so sick. That was the first that was the big user hostile move because it wasn't so much.
That's like the early part of the rot economy.
Yeah, and so for those listeners who don't remember the pivot to video, what happened was Facebook lied. Facebook told everyone, "Oh, you're getting so many views. Users just fucking love these videos, bro. You got to put on more videos." And every outlet pretty much started just putting out video, and they put out video on everything, all in sundry. I remember at the time saying to people, "This is dog shit. This fucking sucks. I don't want to watch videos for everything. I want to read.
Me either.
I don't like watching videos." And people said, "You're an idiot, Ed. This is the future." And then, like in a year, no one was making any money, and they laid off a bunch of people. And this is because Facebook was lying. They we messed up the metrics. Ho hum. Oh well.
Wasn't it like basically the same thing that Elon Musk says with views on Twitter, where it's like if you just scroll past it, it's worse than just scrolling past it for like 2 seconds and counting as a view.
This was just wrong. They did some weird averaging thing where it was like if you looked at it for more than a certain amount of time, it just averaged up. It was fucking insane. And what's crazy is, what's bonkers about this is nothing happened to Facebook. Nothing.
Yeah, they're still going.
There's like
there's a class action suit, but what's going to happen? What are they going to do about it?
I know as an advertiser and a user for the site that I'm going to get a check for like $37, and that's going to be justice.
But that's what should actually have happened in a just society was Mark Zuckerberg's name and address, and people showed up.
Well, it'll be in the book backwards.
Yeah, it'll be in the book. Don't worry.
But look at the back. I mean, you can just go to Hawaii. You're already there. But that's the thing. Like, I've been writing a lot about tech, as you two well know, for the last few years, and it finally has stopped. I've stopped hearing from people that are saying I'm just being too critical. Finally, everyone is just accepting what the fuck has been going on, and it's both edifying and annoying, because it's like I've been saying this shit for years and years. And I've not been saying it because I'm happy. I don't fucking like it. I want my goddamn doodads to work again. I want to be surprised and delighted. Steve Jobs, horrible deadbeat dad, piece of shit, burn in hell, along with Kissinger and Thatcher and Reagan and Jack Welch. But Steve Jobs at least knew one thing, which was, man, if we make really good shit, people will pay us money for it. And to an extent, Apple has still followed that, but with little bits of rock coming in. If you randomly get a thing in your phone saying, you thought about getting Apple News? You thought about that Apple News shit? Or you'll get like a notification saying, Nail Biter game is happening between the Marlins and the Angels. Like two dying franchises knocking their heads together. Oh, you got to watch Apple TV. In a just society, all that shit would be illegal. Like you can't just advertise your own shit. Like,
to
fuck
bring
you,
this
you
back
can't do that.
a little bit, because I want to talk about how this ends up happening. And you were talking earlier about how you said Google does some kind of mafioso type things. They are paying other companies to make. Tell me about how Google essentially maintains their status as the number one search engine.
So what's fun about Google is for a while, since like 2005, Google has been paying Apple billions of dollars to not use any other search engine for exclusive rights. I might be wrong on the beginning date, but I think in like 2022 they paid them like $19-20 billion to not.
Let's say it was like $20 billion to stay. $20 billion
to keep Google as the default search engine on Safari and iOS. Now, what's bonkers about this is how obviously bad it is. Like, the idea that it took this long to get them in trouble is also bonkers, but also, I want Apple to create a search engine, not because I love Apple, but because I fucking hate Google. There was a point, like 10 years ago, when I loved Google. I think most people love Google. You had Google Docs, Gmail, you had search, and it all was pretty good. And they made...
Can I admit something really quick?
Go
Not
on.
to derail. I was always a Bing head. I was a big Binger because I liked the rewards. I liked searching and being able to get like $5 for Domino's gift cards. That was pretty sick.
That is
I
pretty
thought
sick.
that was worth it all.
Dude.
But nevertheless, like, people liked Google. And so Google also did that. And Google also monopolizes advertising on the platform, which is why there's going to be another antitrust thing. But first and foremost, Google has made it so that they paid Mozilla as well to be the default. I think there are other browsers as well. They've just paid off everyone, and it's fine, I guess, except it isn't anymore. It's a big part of why they did this. But the other thing that they did that is the bad part is they did this, and to maintain their monopoly, they basically made it so that if you started any service that could potentially connect to a search engine, you would rely on Google for money. Mozilla, the company that runs Firefox,
would go under.
They will go under. They will die.
Yeah.
They cannot afford to live, which is fucking insane, which is completely bonkers and complete proof that there's a monopoly. Now, how does Google benefit from this monopoly? Very simple. They control the pricing completely. Like, they can charge whatever they want, and they can make it as obfuscated as possible. Their current ad product, Performance Max, is effectively a black box. You give money to Google, money comes out, but do you really know what's going on? Just Google Reddit Performance Max, and I realize I'm telling you to Google while saying Google barely works. But you'll find plenty of people on Reddit just going like, I don't think these numbers line up with what I'm actually testing. This sounds like this doesn't seem right. And because it's a monopoly, what are you going to fucking do about it, bitch? What are you going to do? And that has been Google's business model. What are you going to do about it? And the answer is, it's time to break up Google.
Now, you in your article listed 4 possible outcomes for Google.
Yes.
One of them is essentially they could force, I guess, phones and other services to have like a drop down of who you choose for your search engine. Because what are all the options here? Like, how bad actually could this be for Google, and what would the ramifications of that be?
So I am so excited to hear this because I only want the worst for Google and all these big tech companies. So this is going to be great news, I hope.
So first and foremost, there's the annoying option, which is just Google pays their way out of it and nothing really happens. This is very possible. We don't want it to happen. And I actually don't think it's likely, just because the political ramifications would be so severe. Also, by the way, big tech has no friends really anymore. They kiss up to Elon Musk because he has money, but they don't really give a fuck. They're more scared of Elon Musk, and Elon Musk doesn't give a fuck about Google. But they could do that. They could also, and very likely will, be made to cease engaging in these default search deals. So Apple, Samsung, Mozilla being the big ones, where they pay them billions to, or in the case of Mozilla, hundreds of millions of dollars to make Google the default. Very likely. Also likely, when you get a new device, you'll get the option of multiple search engines. I think it's called like a ballot or something like that. Mm-hmm. And that would be that would be good, though most people will probably still pick Google. It will at least stop them being the default. And then there's
it would be truly the end of like a default browser, like as we know it,
which is ideal. We don't want
that's kind of what happened with Internet Explorer, similar, right? Where they had to like make you choose.
And that was thanks mostly to the EU. Like, the EU is doing the best work here. Yeah. And it's why big tech is so pissy at the EU. In comparison, the antitrust movement over here is so weak. EU is just like, you can't, fuck you, bitch. Like, EU is coming for everyone, and I kind of love to watch it. Because the truth is, if your company requires a monopoly, you're a fucking baby anyway. You're a coward and a bitch. Now, option 3 is the funny one. And to be clear, the last two are both very funny. They could be forced to share the data they have. Now, this could be bad. I don't love the idea of everyone having access to the same data that Google has, but at the same time, Google has access to it. How bad could it fucking be? How much worse could it be if other people have access to the probably insane amounts of data that Google has? But if Google,
so when you say data, is it like user data? Like,
yes,
what do you mean?
It's
data?
Share and click query data. So what people click, why people click it, the things they're searching for, and so on and so forth. And that in turn could allow other people to create a new search engine. That could allow them to actually build a competitor, which would be very bad for Google, and Google doesn't want that at all. I think that's a very likely one. The same thing is probably going to happen with the ads case as well, because Google has this. Google's biggest fear here, other than getting broken up, which I'll get to in a minute, is that all of their secret source gets shared, and it's very likely it will. It's very unlikely you come out of this and Google's not forced to share a bunch of shit about how their ad system works.
That's completely and totally devastating to Google.
Yes, because this company, and I will get to that in a second, which is very funny, Google is basically bankrupt by search, and search is bankrolled by a monopoly. If Google does not have the complete monopoly over the ad services on Google search, and indeed the search market, their company doesn't really have a great position to work from going forward. They don't really have. Their company makes over half of its revenue from search. And that monopoly is, well, it's kind of bankrolling everything else. Google is not a super profitable company. It is profitable. The cloud has just gone profitable, for example, but I don't know if Android's profitable. So much of this company is running on search. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah, from what I know of Google, a lot of their like other ventures haven't really been super successful outside of like Android.
And
from
now
like what I understand, at least.
And now the funniest option, breaking them up. Now Google, and they've said this in the Epic trial. They've said, oh, it's too hard. I don't know how I'm going to break it up. And the thing is, work it out. If the government says they have to break them up, they're going to just say, work it out. Fucking work it out. I don't care. Now, if Google... the thing about Google is breaking them up will be difficult because, like I said, the units of this company are not brilliant. And they don't... The other thing is we really don't know how profitable all of Google is. Like, we don't really know what parts are most or least profitable. Google doesn't break these units out in great detail because they don't have to. If they ever got broken up, they would have to. And, for example, I don't know how profitable Android is. If it isn't and they had to break it out, oh boy, that's not a great company. And that would actually be bad, but I mean, they'll have to work it out. Google search on its own is probably very profitable. But if you remove the fact that Google has the advertising company that is part of it, and the advertising arm of Google is a separate company, shit gets really scary. And especially because, remember, those two, it's arguable that Google search and its ads division are two separate companies owned by the same company in the same building. That, you don't think they're self-dealing? They're absolutely self-dealing. They're absolutely setting their own prices.
There's a boatload of problems with that.
And if they can't rig the dice, then I don't think they can play the game anymore. And that's the thing.
You've written about that in the past, haven't you? Like some of the problems with the relationships between search and AdWords, or formerly AdWords, now Google Ads.
So, and that, maybe it's worth doing a little history lesson. So,
Please.
Google, the way that people think about Google search is that there is a company called Google and a bit of an ad thing on top. When in fact, Google is really two companies or three companies when it comes to search and ads. In the early 2000s, they acquired two companies. One was called DoubleClick, and the other one was called, I forget, it was like it was a very weird name, like Semantic something, and that was where AdWords came from. So these two companies, I think DoubleClick was like $3 billion or more, are the underpinning of this entire company, and they're huge. And I also don't know if they know how to function without being part of Google. these companies are Google is not ready. Google will have to get ready quite fast. It may take years, but this would fundamentally change how Google runs. And remember that, and Caleb, what you're mentioning is the man who could Google search, something I wrote back in April.
Yes.
And the big thing there was the ads division of Google interfering with the search product, telling them to change things to make people search more, to increase queries, to increase revenue. Guess what is not happening if they separate out these businesses? They won't be able to do that anymore because the company, Google Search, will be like, why? Why do we have to do it? Fuck you. Yeah. Or maybe they'll say yes, and the product will become so shit it dies. Like, that's the thing. There are so many ways that this could go wrong because, and I will say this about a lot of big tech companies, they're fucking cowards. This industry of people who claim about this being a meritocracy and how hard they work and how smart they are, I don't think they know how the fuck to run this shit without rigging the dice. I truly don't know if they're capable. And I think that, well, no, let me re-put it like this. I want to see what happens. I want to see these fucking geniuses work it out. Work it out. You're so fucking smart.
I really want to see this too, because I mean, as so many people know, Google has gotten so bad in the last, especially a year. And I really want to see like something like this shake up the world. And maybe, I don't know, do you think in that world, search would actually get like not disastrously bad again?
I think it could go a number of ways. There are also some preventative measures they could make in advance. Search could improve. Or, well, it's either going to be they improve it or they make it so much worse as they... If they really think they're fucked, then they will make search so much worse as they try and like squeeze every drop of blood out of it before they're made to. That's actually how you'll know. If they're just like, oh yeah, we gotta, this is bad. This isn't good at all. Oh God. I think that what's more likely is they're going to have a very big piss fit and argument with the government, and it's got the remedies stage, which I think they're going to book in a few months, and then a few months after that we might actually hear it. I think it's just going to get very interesting. But also the fact this is happening is probably scaring the bejesus out of the rest of big tech, because it proves that the government, who under Reagan basically gave up on enforcing antitrust, have decided to enforce the law again, which is crazy. Crazy idea, right? What if we enforce
this is the
laws?
First time in my lifetime that I've seen anything like this.
But Matt Stoller, talking to him earlier, made this really good point, which is when monopolies are this strong, they're effectively political institutions. And the kind of depression that we have around society does stem partly from watching these institutions thrive while selling us bullshit. We, you, me, Caleb, we have to pay our bills. We don't pay our bills, we're fucked. We can't live places. Our water gets turned off, our power gets turned off. We can't use Xvideo's Prime. Like we're unable to live our lives.
And what would we be able to do without that?
What would we be able to do without that? But it's these people, the Googles of the world. We are our jobs. We did a shitty job, we'd be fired. But when they do a shitty job, well, money still comes out. Who gives a fuck, right? Who cares? We live in a society, as the Joker once said, and we live in this society where we watch the bad guys win a lot. And the bad guys winning is a result of weak antitrust, weak regulation, poor labor laws. And it affects all of us deeply. And I think that the timing of all of this is fascinating. Because if the government, and I think Harris could win, I think it's looking way more hopeful than it did when Biden was in. I think that Harris winning, sure, there's a worry that she could be kind of pro-business, but also no one gives a shit about big tech. No one wants to protect Google. Everyone wants Google to work again. And hey, maybe this could scare them into making it good. But do you really think this is an organization that is going to be like, and now we will make it good because we know how to do that? Do you think they really know? Even, like, I like Apple. Apple could make their shit better if they get scared. If they get scared about it, maybe Apple could start like making the App Store a bit better. They've done that with the EU rules around the App Store. Okie dokie, that's good.
I think these tech people need to be more scared. I think all of these
people.
people.
I don't think they realize that resentment is as high as it is among normal people, and that's something I think.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say that something that you had mentioned recently that you like can't really describe it, but I think my finger's on the pulse of something like normal people are just fucking fed up with tech. I think there's, I can't tell you, just as like a guy who hangs out in spaces with dipshits who look at tech people, they used to think it was all awesome and cool. Now they think that their phone is some sort of witchcraft device, and they hate computer boys, and that's, not...
People are becoming, they're starting to think of all of these people rightfully as they are again, which is nerds.
Yeah, annoying nerds.
The nerds came in, had their time in the sun, and now
Young
everyone's
Sheldon is
resentful of the
canceled,
nerds.
bitch. Your era is over.
Wait, that is really weird how this shift kind of seems to correlate with the end of Young Sheldon, the Sheldonverse.
The Sheldonverse.
To the Sheldonverse.
Weird correlation. Someone should look into that.
That might be my next question might be a good way to segue into the second part of this episode that I wanted to ask you about, which is the other two articles. How much of these tech companies not knowing how to fix things is wrapped up in the amount of money that they're spending on AI?
So the AI thing, I think, is a symptom of a wider problem with them. So this does tie directly into monopolies, but not in the most obvious way. When you as a business have got fat and happy for the best part of a decade, making your service shittier because you don't have competition, kind of like being in a marriage and you've given up and you got fat and you don't treat him well and all these things, like the way all relationships break down. When you don't think someone's going to leave, you kind of become a piece of shit. This is how most of big tech has become. The services aren't as bad in all corners, but when you don't really fear extinction, you don't really fight it. You don't do the things to keep yourselves alive. What they are doing with generative AI is they are trying to make a new thing that everyone will pay them for, that they own, and they all kind of exist in a cartel-like situation where they all kind of charge the same thing for selling the same thing, and you have a choice of 3 or 4 very similar things. And the problem is that when you have these companies and when everything's been so easy and they just kind of bumble like Mr. Bean into new business units that just kind of fucking works every time, you don't really keep the people around who say, I don't know, hey, I don't think this is going to be profitable. I don't think that this is ever going to make more money than it costs. And indeed, I've heard tell that Sundar Pichai at Google is basically surrounded by yes men. Sundar Pichai is also the former product manager, head product manager, I believe, of Google Cloud. So in cloud, all you had to do is just increase amount of space, like you just get more data centers, you sell more cloud products. There's always more hunger for more compute. Except the problem is with generative AI is it's just too expensive, and it's not ever getting cheaper. Perhaps maybe they can find some efficiency, but they're not even really trying to do that. And I think by the time they try, it's going to be too late because the markets will have turned. But the generative AI and the push toward it is kind of a years-long example of tech really not knowing how to solve real problems anymore, and there possibly not being any problems left to solve at the scale they'd need to for them to be a multi-trillion-dollar market. Think about it.
So you're telling me, so they realized Bitcoin won't solve everything, and then they're like, wait, AI might solve everything.
I must push back on that.
Yeah.
So the whole crypto thing, and a lot of people say this. A lot of people are saying this. Oh yeah, the crypto was the thing before metaverse. I really don't think crypto or metaverse were actual trends.
Okay.
Microsoft put money into blockchain. They had a blockchain arm. Microsoft had a metaverse thing. Meta did the metaverse thing, but Meta is barely worth comparing to because remember, Mark Zuckerberg literally can't be fired.
Yeah.
It's impossible to fire.
You are right about that. That was like a very self-propped up sort of space that they were trying to like manifest into being something that just never really became something, because why would that have become something that people care about? It was like so clearly like
was
garbage.
The same.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in both of those cases, they were very conspicuous because the media credulously went along with it. People I know and respect went along with it. I was just like, what the fuck are you doing? And this is why I'm like particularly salty that suddenly people are like, oh, big tech bad. It's like, I've been saying this shit since like 2021. Wake the fuck up.
Yeah.
What's unique about this one is if you really look back in the last 10 years, when was the last time big tech had something that really banged?
I don't know. I literally can't think of any current like recent improvement in technology that's changed my life in a positive way. Like I can think of only things that have like made life worse that big tech has done, but like nothing, like, you know, with generative AI images, like destroying the ecosystem even more and like more rapidly. Like I can think of endless examples of stuff like that, but nothing good that's improved my life.
And I think that there are small things that have changed that are actually quite significant. The introduction of contactless payments is genuinely revolutionary. It's one of the only things that I look at and think that big tech did not get enough credit for.
I guess when I think of that,
like
I don't
Apple,
even think of
Apple Pay is fucking magical.
That is true.
Like,
you know, I don't even think of that as like a tech improvement, though. But you're right. That actually has been a very like good convenience factor. You know.
And what's crazy is like the tech behind that is actually really interesting. It's like a cryptographic token. You know, the real crypto. So, like, you're never actually sharing your credit card information. It's very cool. But nevertheless, that still isn't something that's a $100 billion, $200 trillion, whatever industry. It's not truly, like, life-changing. It is, like, maybe life-changing, but it's not, like, a brand new industry you can sell into. Smartwatches failed. They didn't fail in the sense that no one bought them, but they did not become the next big thing that changed everything. Hey, smart assistants. Alexa has lost Amazon billions of dollars. Isn't that fucking nuts?
Jesus Christ.
Just
I wouldn't
billions
have guessed that.
of billions.
I would assume since
billions.
all of these companies made their own like version of Siri, they would have all been like big boons for all these companies.
And that's, well, Siri is a different animal. When you look at like Amazon Alexa and Google HomePod and Apple Home, no, sorry, Google has their own fucking one. They all have stupid goddamn names as well. These things have got consumer penetration, but again, have they really deeply changed our lives? I don't know. They've made it easier to listen to music, I guess.
It's all just convenience. It's all mostly been like minor improvements to convenience.
But it's also not the kind of convenience that truly like changes our lives.
Yeah, it's just like that's
to
cool.
be clear. And there have been magical things with like our smartphones are so fucking fast now. They have so much space. We can get music anywhere. But even then with music, to do that, we've just fucked artists. There's nothing we can do there. There's just like, that's fucking it. It's completely.
Yeah, no, I mean, Spotify especially. Like Spotify is an example of the worst one where the artists, unless you're like pulling in the big numbers, like you know, top artist numbers, like you're making pennies for thousands of listens.
But when you get to the point I'm getting at very slowly, I apologize, is tech hasn't come up with the next big thing for a while, and it's because there really might not be one. The next generation thing, the reason they went with VR very briefly was theoretically that makes sense. If they could do the thing that they said they could, which they were lying about. If you could do a full extrasensory thing and jump into a world that felt as realistic as our own, wow, would that not be crazy?
I gotta say,
yeah, that would be crazy.
I have a Quest, and the NFL quarterback game is very fun. I've played it for, I'd probably, not a ton, like 10, 20 hours, but it's the graphics suck. It's like very bulky on your head. You can't play it for that long, and that's it. And it's not even close to a life-changing thing. Also, the gaming aspect of it was kind of ancillary for VR and AR. Am I wrong in suggesting that?
Yeah, it was. And that was the craziest thing. That was what really like jokified me at the time. Because everyone was like, oh yeah, it's just like gaming. I'm like, have any of you played a fucking video game? you booted up a computer and played a game on it ever? You're talking out your asshole. What Mark Zuckerberg was promising was a lie. He was lying. He lied to everyone and then got away with it because no one ever holds anyone fucking
He's really good at doing that. He's done that a lot, hasn't he?
God, he's such a fucking... I nearly said a word I really shouldn't say on your podcast there. No, it's how I feel. But the thing I'm getting at is there may not be any revolutions left, or the revolutions may require advances in technology that are decades, if not hundreds of years away. AI is probably the closest they are, and they're so far away. They are possibly never going to get to AGI, Average General Intelligence, so Jarvis in Iron Man.
And you're thinking this is just a limitation of physics.
Tech. It's a limitation of physics, of mathematics, and of technology. Even faster chips would not necessarily be able to do this. They don't know if they will. The laws of scaling that they are claiming, like, oh, if we get even bigger, faster chips and we crunch these numbers harder, well, something will happen. Notice that none of these people have actually got an endpoint. It's not like they say, well, if we get to this point and we had fast enough chips, at that point the computer would wake up. They're like, we need to just keep doing this and then something will happen, I fucking swear. It's gambler logic. What? No, gambling is actually more logical than it, because there are odds to look at. And also, my fun thing I've been saying to a lot of people, I want to introduce Western Kabuki listeners to this idea.
Oh, please do.
So even if they do AGI, what if the computer's a fucking dimwit? What if it's fucking stupid? What if it's an idiot? What if it can't learn anything? What if you fucking turn this thing on?
He just starts talking like
huh?
Donald Trump or something. Like he just starts rambling.
No, but yeah, it's just like I've opened the application. You haven't opened it. You got to open it. I've opened it. It's beautiful.
Spent trillions of dollars to invent
like
a cyber 3-year-old.
Yeah, just like a very ornery old man in the computer. Like, how do we know it will agree? Well, we'll make it agree. How? You don't even know how to make it conscious. Also, science doesn't know how cognition works or intelligence. They're working it out, but how long will that take? We don't fucking know. And that's the crazy thing. That's actually the most bonkers fucking thing about this. Everything about this movement is being sold based on an idea that they do not know how to do. They have no fucking idea. They just don't know. And what's crazy is they've made so much money. No, they've lost so much money pursuing a dream.
Yeah, AI.
Which they really don't. I must be clear.
A horrible boon for actual revenue, right?
Yeah, it's burnt. So the estimate is that OpenAI is losing about $5 billion a year. And that is after the revenue they make. And they claim they're making $3.5 to $4 billion a year. And that one sounds like some bullshit to me, but regardless,
that would have to all be on like ChatGPT subscriptions, right? Like there's no fucking way.
ChatGPT subscriptions, but also API access, and they just reduce the cost. It's also fucking stupid. It's and when I think about it too hard, I just get really upset. I start getting pissed off because I'm just like, I talk to reporters and I read these articles and I'm like, how can you not fucking see this problem? And they say, well, they'll work it out. Will they?
Yeah, we just gotta have that baseline level of optimism for tech when we really shouldn't.
I wish I could do that in any job I have. Wouldn't that be fucking sick? You go to work and you just shit at your job always. And your boss is like, well, you need to use a plunger to undo the toilet. You can't just use a stick. But what if the stick becomes a plunger? And the boss is like, I see your point.
And then it's like, okay, here's $10. It's like a raise for you. You get a raise.
I need $500.
Raise for you.
I also need $500.
Yeah.
You seem to be starting to be the path towards Ed Zitron vindication, complete and total vindication. Is starting to happen, I think, because in a recent it was either in Burst Damage or the OpenAI specific one, but it was the Wall Street is starting to react to this. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yes. So Goldman Sachs back in July, an article I did called Pop Culture about this. So Goldman Sachs back then, they did a piece, a report that said that asked the question, was Gen AI, I should really be able to say AI by this point. I fuck it up in the podcast sometimes. Too much spend for not enough revenue? Now, if Goldman Sachs is saying this, that's a bad sign, by the way. When the money people, it probably means that they've got something. I have no knowledge of that, but it probably means that they are betting against this. But it was like a 30-something page report, and they were just fucking brutal on it. They had Darono Samoglu from MIT saying it doesn't solve complex problems and that it's probably not going to contribute meaningfully to GDP or productivity. But they had this fellow, Jim Covello, who's their semiconductors analyst and tech analyst. And he basically just did one of the best reports I've ever read, where it was just like, first of all, the people saying that this is just like old tech and that old tech was expensive at first. Wrong. This guy's been in it for decades, and he just sits there just studiously knocking away every hype thing, says that, no, actually, people say, oh, people didn't like smartphones at first. And he was like, no, wrong. People did. And also, there were roadmaps being shown to him. He said hundreds of different presentations he got that said this is roughly what will happen, especially as they make GPS chips smaller. This is inevitable.
When I was young, this might be a little weird because I don't know how old you guys were when smartphones came out, but I was probably like 10 or 11 when smartphones came out, like the Apple phone, like when the iPhone came out. I like explicitly remember the first day that's the first person I met talked about iPhones and showed me what it was. I was playing on the GameCube, Mario Sunshine, and my cousin comes over and visits, my older cousin, and he starts talking like, check this out, check this, it's called an iPhone, and I'm like, this is insane. Like, I have like an explicit memory of that day. Everyone was talking about it.
I bought one. And everyone I showed it to was like, holy fucking shit. Like, they thought I was a time
anybody
traveler.
who says that we didn't like smartphones is a fucking liar.
But also the other argument was, oh, well, things were expensive at the beginning. And Jim Cavello says that's also untrue. Some microsystem servers that were required to run the internet were $64,000, but you didn't need an insane amount of them like you do with generative AI. And on top of that, people will argue that, oh, the early days of the internet weren't profitable. And he was like, also wrong. E-commerce was immediately profitable for some. It was when you tried to do... The dot-com boom was when you just, funnily enough, when you lose money on every transaction, your business is bad. Crazy fucking idea, right? And what was fun about this report was the amount of the words I got called by some tech people. It was the first time I really got haters. And the reason was it was so hard to deal with. If you're like a generative AI booster and you read this, even the generative AI boosters were like, fucking hell, oh god. Well, we'll work this out, won't we? But that's the thing. They haven't. And the constant thing they've been saying since November 2022 is, well, it will get better. And that was the other thing that actually Daron Osamoglu of MIT said. He's like, what does better even mean? As better doesn't mean more functionality. Faster doesn't mean more functionality. These new chips do not mean these things will be able to do more. And the principal thing that Jim Cavello, the analyst from Goldman, said was, it doesn't solve these complex problems. And it's fucking nuts, because this is actually what I've been saying for a while. But he's also an analyst for a respected institution, and I'm a guy with a blog. But
bloggers have a lot of power, and no one is ready to acknowledge that. Bloggers have as much importance as these tech people.
But the thing is also, and I think one of the reasons this boiling resentment is boiling to this point, is regular people have been fucking saying this too. Anyone with fucking eyes has been saying, I can't work out why this is so good. Why can't anyone tell me why I need ChatGPT?
Yeah.
And I said this on the pod the other day. Tell me what ChatGPT does. Describe ChatGPT for me. It's actually very difficult, because what the fuck does it do? I had a reader actually email me and say, and I quote, ChatGPT is a conversationally immutable search and a loquacious wiki, to which I said, that's a terrible answer.
That's not going to convince anyone. That to me, I'm like, okay, I don't need it.
Read that
if
again,
someone said that to me...
A loquacious wikis? Read that again?
Yeah, it was I closed it already, but it was the loquacious wiki was how it ended. It's just
like, to me, I would never, if someone told me that, I'm like, okay, I don't ever need this. Thank you.
I might pepper spray the person who said that to me.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I just like vomit at them.
Not even pepper spray, bug spray.
But I think that the resentment against big tech is because, perhaps without the numbers, perhaps without all of the fanciness, everyone could kind of see this. With the new iPhone, well, the iPhone, when it first came out, to your point, June, you were like, holy fucking shit, this is so cool. When I first got access to ChatGPT, I'll be honest, I had the same reaction I have today, which is, all right, now what?
Yeah.
Every time I've tried to make it, everyone's like, oh, it can automate your shit. I've tried to make it automate my shit. I have to do a lot of boring spreadsheet bullshit. All the time. I'm always doing spreadsheets. And let me tell you, if there was a way to carve off minutes from my life, I'd be a carving. I'd be carving my nuts off.
Yeah, that's a lot more time to like Dune or something.
Like, but I could do literally anything with that time. I would love to have more time, but I can't. And indeed, I think most people, if ChatGPT was actually useful, would be happy. They'd probably forgive the fact that it steals from everyone if it was useful, if it did something. Except this is the third straight fucking movement, and it's the ugliest and most expensive and the most aggressive. It's one that steals from artists and writers, that loses people their jobs, that scares people because of what it does. But for the regular person, and even for the people who think that it's going to replace them, it doesn't do anything. It does not do anything. It doesn't. Oh, great. I can generate a picture of Garfield doing the 9/11 on Grok. I can
Which, like, well,
I can generate.
That's like maybe pretty funny. Like, okay, sure,
Are we gonna
you do
boil
that
a lake
once.
for that?
Yeah, do we need that?
Yeah.
Do we need that? No.
But even on a very practical level, wow, it's been great for people who want to cheat at school.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
People who want to make up Francis Ford Coppola quotes, such as the people selling his movie.
Yeah, that was insane.
Generate really shitty images with it. And there are some businesses that are able to use, like the search aspect of it, and I do not mean like a search engine. I mean being able to use it to raise parts of data very quickly. That's cool. Like, that's cool. You notice how none of that seems to be useful for regular people, though, not a single fucking time.
I think,
and that they can't even come up with they can't come up with one fucking meaningful thing.
Yeah.
One thing that really impresses people. So all they can do is just say, "This is the future. It's the future. It's the future. It's the future. Take the future. Yum 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 yum. Buy the future from me, please."
I think this is a thing that more tech people need to realize when making any sort of tech improvements is if you piss off furry artists, you're not going to make it.
Yes.
Sorry. If the furry artists,
furries underpin the internet.
Yeah, no, if you cannot win them over, if they hate you, you're never gonna, you'll be nowhere. You need them. They're like ground zero of any tech movement, I feel like, in the modern day.
But also, on a very basic level, the iPhone changed how we interface with the internet and with each other. Social media changed the way we interface with each other. Cloud computing allowed us to have distinct websites that had full functionality of software that we regularly have on our computers. These were things that changed everything. And generative AI, it raised a lot of money and it spends a lot more than that. That's also that's something that happened. And you'd think, to quote Carla Ban from the Doom movie, if they're so smart, why are they so dead? But to change that, if they're so smart, why can't they come up with a fucking good idea? Seriously, none of them, not Google, not Microsoft, not OpenAI, which is basically part of Microsoft. All of this money sloshes around so publicly, so grotesquely. All that the regular person sees, because it isn't a fucking product that helps them, is this machine that raises more money than anyone's ever raised before and spends somehow more than that to do nothing other than steal from the internet.
Right.
Threaten their jobs because their bosses don't do any real fucking work. It's like a pornographic version of capitalism. And it's made form because it's almost like a mirror test for business. If you buy this shit, if you are claiming this will replace people, it's just a fucking sign you don't know what you're goddamn talking about. Oh, this is going to replace all of you. If you replace someone with it, it means you don't have a quality litmus test. It means that you will expect to give your customers slop. You don't respect labor. It's so ugly and so horrible, and it's so graphic in the things that it does to people, and yet how lacking in real utility for most people it is. It's like the final boss of capitalism, and it's grotesque, and it's disgusting, but worse of it, it's sold to us as if it will change everything. And if AI was what AI is meant to be, if it was this autonomous experience that would really automate your life and truly change it, people would be excited. And what sucks is, we're nowhere near that. We're not in the same galaxy. We're not in the same fucking universe. We're nowhere near it, but we're being told to eat it up and to fucking pay with it. Fuck you guys. Fuck them. And that's how I feel like most people feel about this.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Every person that I've ever talked to about this, yep.
But also, I think all of us would be happy if, like, it was actually useful.
Yeah.
That's what's crazy.
Like, because I don't think we want to hate this. I don't think we do. Like, no one wants to hate the development.
If it did something fun and interesting, but
absolutely.
But it's both useless and horrible in the way it's useless.
I have one more question for you as we kind of wrap this episode up.
Of course.
and then we'll have you do your plugs and stuff. But you had listed in, and again, I kind of lumped these in the same one. I don't know if it was burst damage or the OpenAI specific one, of like certain key signs to look for. Like obviously OpenAI failing is the bubble has burst. But what are some things to look for as like red flags?
So I'll go through them. First and foremost, any changes in pricing.
Which you just posted
I have an upcoming news
today,
and
right?
That's the thing.
Yeah, I saw that right when we started.
I have an upcoming newsletter.
So red flag 1 is already here.
Yes, we're already getting signs. So the beginning of price changes will be a race to the bottom, and you're kind of already seeing it. GPT-4, Mini, Claude, Haiku, and now they're dicking around with prompt caching, which could be more efficient. But putting that aside,
Perplexity AI is.
Perplexity is. I'll explain that one in a second. Basically, if they have to start charging what it costs to actually run this, the cost will be insane. That's why if you see them raise prices, that's how you know shit's getting bad. Perplexity, a generative AI-powered search engine, has told advertisers it plans to start running ads in Q4 2024, and a source has told CNBC's Hayden Field that they are planning to charge CPM prices of $50 or more.
It's 5 times more than Google. Relatively,
it's insane. It's 5 times more than like TikTok and Facebook. Now Facebook's fucked, and like their ads product is like a big scam. But like TikTok, which is generally decent, it's so much more than Google. CPM means cost per mile, so 1,000 impressions. $50 for that is fucking insane.
Such a ripoff.
It is fucking insane. No one is going to pay that more. Someone might pay for that just to have the Perplexity logo, or claim as they sell to dumb fucks, oh yeah, we're on up with the latest shit. But the fact that they are charging that means they kind of need to. And this came from, I believe, an investor deck. Now, what's crazy about this is if they're having to tell investors this means investors are like, hey, your costs are fucking terrible. Like, what's going on? Because remember, generative AI is at its core unprofitable. It costs too much to run. If they charge what they have to for how expensive this is, they would be charging, I don't know, like 10 to 25 times what everything else costs, like Perplexity is. Now, moving on from that one, of course, and by the way, if OpenAI or Anthropic raise prices, they start playing the Oscars music. It's just, it will mean that they are getting desperate and they need to start making more money than they're spending. This crazy idea. Don't know if any of you ever tried that. Again, this is what pisses regular people off with big tech, and me especially about big tech. Regular people, if I or you spend more money than I make, we lose, like, we don't have an apartment anymore. We can't afford food. Like, regular people are made to live within their means.
Wait, you're telling me that the line doesn't continue to go up forever? There's like a limit?
The line doesn't go up for regular people. It goes up for fucking Sam Altman, a billionaire.
You're telling me that the line stops eventually?
This is a fucking class and labor issue. And people, like, big tech fucking needs to wake the fuck up, because when the worm turns, I will make so much money on that book. But they will suffer.
The line will go up
and
for you.
And there is no more... Yeah, line go up for me. The big scam is on. But moving on to the rest of the pale horses. Stories about general discord in AI investment. Now, if you get stories about things changing in AI investment, which has kind of already happened, that's a bad sign. But if you get any sniffle, any stench that these companies are having trouble raising money, that means that VCs are going, I'm not interested. I am scared now. Oh, line will not go up forever. I'm going to shit my pants. And that's not great. But the real one to look for is OpenAI or Anthropic having trouble raising money. If they cannot raise money, then it's bad times ahead, because those two, especially OpenAI, they are the symbols of this movement. Without them, well, what is there? Really, though, what is there? There isn't anything. Now, another thing to look out for and start rubbing your palms together. If you see Microsoft or Google, and really it is whichever one blinks first, that if they say we're going to reduce our capital expenditures when it comes to AI, oh boy, that's a bad sign too, because they are holding these companies up. Anthropic propped up by billions of dollars in cloud credits from Amazon and from Google. OpenAI basically part of Microsoft. The delay in the Blackwell chips that are required for the next generation of ChatGPT to do nothing, those are delayed by 3 or more months. But also the big one really to take a look at, is anything involving Discord or like a collapse within the big other players. Scale AI, a training data company, so the data that you need to, they clean up the data and sell you the data to train your fucking models to do more bullshit. If they have problems, or Cohere, another large language model developer that raised about $450 million from Salesforce and NVIDIA, any of these companies, you start hearing problems with people leaving or layoffs or anything like that. That's a bad. It's over. That's a bad
that's
sign
just the
as
end,
well.
Yeah.
Okay, I lied, by the way. I do have one more question, and I'm sorry. I know we're running up against the end of time.
Don't worry. No, we're good.
I just want to know where Grok fits in all of this.
Yes, please.
I will finish on Grok, but let me get my pale horses out of the way first. So, the big thing is, though, really anything to do with OpenAI and Anthropic, things not going well. Now, OpenAI was the funniest fucking thing in the world. The chief operating officer, Greg Brockman, he went on an indefinite leave of absence the same week that all of the stocks got pummeled for generative AI, which is just the funniest thing I've ever seen. It's like, looks like things are difficult. I'm going to Cabo. See ya. I'm off. Goodbye. See you in a few months. Hope nobody needs me. Bye. But also kind of proves how fucking useless he was. If your chief operating officer can fuck off for months, maybe they're not doing anything. Yeah. But the big thing is a big, stupid magic trick. Now, this could be OpenAI pushing Sora, their video generator, out the door. It's them claiming they invented something new. But the thing to look at with your beady eyes is say, does this exist? Are they releasing it to people? But the thing to know with all of these companies is that they do not make more money than... They make so much less money than they spend, and there is no path to profitability for any of them. Perplexity trying to charge $50 for CPM is just a desperation play. There's no one's really going to pay that. They can't scale that. But I know you've asked about Grok, and I can't wait to talk about Grok, because Grok is so fucking funny.
It's got to be the least profitable one.
We were talking a little bit while you were when you stepped away for a second, Ed. It's the funniest because it's got to be the least profitable, and it's like Elon definitely came in late, and by the time he launches whatever Grok Infinity, the one that he thinks is going to be the good version of Grok or whatever, like that will be by that time the bubble will have burst. Like the day yes. He announces it, I imagine.
Yeah, but so to explain what Grok is, so Grok has been around for a while, and what's important to remember is, much like the rest of Twitter, Grok only loses money. But what's so good about it is, I mean, there's just so much I love about it.
I love that Elon Musk is so good at inventing new ways to lose money. He is so good at it.
But what's so good about it, like, I really can go into detail. I got time, don't you worry. So first and foremost, instead of like finding a host provider, instead of being like, hey, okay, I'm going to kind of hedge my bets here because this isn't a definitive thing. I shouldn't, I don't know, buy a bunch, like thousands and thousands and thousands of fucking different servers. Elon Musk has bought his own like server farms. He's like, this is epic. This is based. It's so good. This is the Epic 3000. This is the base 3000. And now we're going to, and he's bought all of this physical server space, and he's bought like tons of GPUs. Like he has actually built servers. It's insane that he's done it, and he's trying to get Tesla to invest $5 billion in XAI, which is the company that runs the AI part that also owns 25% of X.
The money moves around in a circle.
I love that this is legal also. It's really good that like all of this is legal.
You can just shift money in different spaces and it's like so fine.
Yeah.
But what's great about this is, as you correctly surmised, Elon Musk is like not a trendsetter. He's not like good at... He's honestly not that good at business. I think we're kind of seeing it with Twitter. If Twitter collapses, it will be very sad, but also it will make me look like I was prescient, with the other 1,500 people saying that Twitter's going to fucking fall apart. But I think what's funny with Grok, because there's been two waves with Grok. He released Grok months and months ago. Just this kind of shitty chat GPT variant.
Like a full year later than most other companies did.
Yeah. And like, as an add-on to Twitter Blue, which is just an insane thing to do anyway. So, just to be clear, he is attaching a money-losing machine to a money-losing machine. Like, Twitter Blue technically made money. It made money, which is crazy. Like, it made a bit of money. It made probably more money than zero. That's great. So he attached a completely unprofitable generative AI to it. And then, a week or two ago, he decided, well, what this really needs is to be connected to a completely unrestricted generative image maker. And so he attached this model, I think, called Flux, which is more realistic and completely unguarded, which is why you can get like Mickey Mouse doing 9/11, Kamala Harris doing 9/11, various people doing 9/11. Hell, they'll even do 9/12 now. And it's remarkable because I think every 400 of those images, he loses a Twitter Blue subscriber. Because the estimates I've seen are like, I think it's like 4 cents an image. Maybe it's less, maybe there's efficiency, but also this is Elon Musk. Probably not. Like, let's be honest, it's probably not. This is not a big efficiency guy.
So you're saying if you buy Twitter Blue and then just spend a little bit every day like generating bullshit images with Grok, he's like actually losing a lot of money.
He will lose money on every transaction.
So funny.
Just fucking get Twitter Blue and generate an image every few minutes or as often as you can. Just keep doing it. Hell, get a bunch of prompts, write them in a Google Note or the Apple Note even. You copy paste into that, generate, call it 800 a day. Technically, and just make sure that it's intentional every time. Just make sure that every single time you are really thinking about it, even a little.
Yeah, I just crunched the numbers, by the way. It's about 40 images a day. Totally doable to bankrupt him.
I'll just do 100. Really put in the hours. Come on.
Yeah, we could accelerate this faster.
But to be clear, the same problems I've discussed with OpenAI and Anthropic are completely and utterly relevant to Grok. And what's hilarious is he attached it to Twitter, a business that is dying, that is running out of money all the time because he's suing the advertisers for not advertising there. Which fucking rocks.
It's so
just like,
smart.
This adult baby is just like, oh, you legally
Go
need to.
fuck
And you've got
yourself.
Linda Yaccarino being like, Tuesday's the day before Wednesday. And
Hot dog.
It's just hot dog. And then she does her little. She did her speech about why they're suing, and it's so funny. Someone else commented this, where they were like, "Yeah, she's definitely done the media training, but only remembered the media training. She has no independent thought about it. So she's just doing like the big hands, the small hands, and she has like this very powerful, like I think it's like a Long Island accent as well, which makes it funnier because she's really trying to be like prim and proper. Is like, you need to advertise on X. Just like being yelled at.
I didn't watch that video.
I wish she'd lean.
It seemed like a hostage situation. I was not really interested.
No. I must push back on that. This woman was a fucking Trump appointee.
Okay.
She's probably like, she probably fucking like thinks Elon Musk doesn't go far enough.
Okay.
But what's crazy about this is, well, kind of exactly what you're saying, which is even for this industry, Elon Musk is a late bloomer. Like, it's insane that he did this because there is no reason to have done it at all, and especially not in the way he does. Now, technically, I imagine it might be a better business than ChatGPT in the sense that, well, how can I put this? He is definitely getting paid for each user, other than, I assume, the thousands of people he gave Twitter Blue away to, which he did, which was not great, or the people who kept Twitter Blue when it went out. It's not a great business either way.
Right.
But also, where the fuck does this go? Where does this go, Elon? You think Elon Musk is going to be the one that works out to make generative AI profitable?
It'll be the worst one.
You think... Yeah, he's probably making it more unprofitable. He's probably like, what if we made the chips closer together? And like, that would create more heat. Elon's like, no, but it would look more powerful.
It saves space.
To me. You see, yeah, exactly. No, he would be like, it will save space. And like, yeah, but you need some gaps, Elon, because they're very high. Like,
it'll be way more smooth looking.
You're fired. Get me someone who will put the chips next to each other, closer. And they're like melting. It's like, this is so good. I love this. I love it. But also, he's a terrible businessman. He's not a good businessman. It's insane that he did this. It's insane he has an unrestricted image generator. And at some point, someone will sue X for it generating something. Grok has already started to do the news. I'm not sure if you saw that.
Yeah, it's
Oh my
great.
god, yeah, it was some of the funniest shit I've ever seen. Yeah.
And it just like, it was claiming that Klay Thompson was like making some sort of construction business because he was throwing the basketball poorly,
Yeah, no, it just
otherwise
makes
known
up
as
news.
a brick,
Like it's just
which is-
totally fake news stories.
It's so fucking funny, and I don't know why they're not being sued. Probably because everyone's just like, I don't want to fuck it. I don't want Elon Musk to know my name. Like, that's all that's protecting them. Is just like, they know Elon Musk has the money and is spiteful enough to sue.
Yeah.
But also, leave him to it. Because it's burning itself alive already. Like, it is, I keep repeating myself, but it's so fucking insane to attach a ChatGPT clone to Twitter. Twitter was already losing so much money. Like, so much money. And then just be like, you know what this needs? More losing money. Wait, what,
They put
what
in
if
a
this
money
lost?
losing generator.
Yeah, which is fucking bonkers, because it's like, even Elon Musk, as up his own arse as he is, can he not see the numbers? Do you think he looks? I wonder if he doesn't. I wonder if he straight up just does not look at them. They're like, Mr. Musk, the money's not great. He's like, that's actually good. Red's
I went to his
I-
page while you asked that to look. I went to his profile, and he's playing Diablo right now. So I don't think he gives a
hell
fuck.
yeah.
fuck yeah.
I will.
And
I cannot wait to see like either when Elon Musk dies or like his like downfall, his like fall of his empire, and seeing like finding out these details about him and like how he viewed.
There are
like,
going to be some really
himself.
good tell-alls.
Oh my god, yeah, it's going to be like
I
some
think,
of the best
I
shit
think
ever.
he's got two ways of doing this. He's either going to go out like David Carradine or Budd Dwyer. He is like this man. This man leads a deeply unhealthy life. Also, looking this up, I don't play that much Diablo 4, but by the looks of this, is the Pit tier 143. This man is like a full-scale poop sock Diablo fan. Like this man plays so much Diablo.
This game came out like 9
Like-
months ago.
Yeah, but also, I would not be surprised if this was a seasonal game, which means it only started a few months ago. This guy is just like fucking up at all hours, like burning his company to the ground,
Yeah.
being like, just ignoring one of his 17 kids.
It's like I'm gonna be the barbarian class today.
I'm
What's the
going
name
to
of
make
his?
an
It's like Epic
Wizard.
Gamer 420 or whatever. What's his gaming handle?
Oh my
I forgot.
God, man, like fucking.
I think it was
hell.
Epic
Like, it's
Gamer
always
420. Like it had like leak
That's
code
so
type
fucking
stuff.
sad. That would have been cringe like 10 years ago. This man is so far behind the fucking times. I've never seen someone less connected to the zeitgeist in my fucking life. Like, Jesus goddamn fucking... The
It is
only
astonishing.
reason it just astonishes me every fucking
Cyber
week
Gamer 420
when I-
and the
Cyber
Cyber
Gamer.
Gamer, even better. Combining like the loser language of the biggest loser on Usenet with the biggest loser of today. It's just fucking hilarious. And at some point with Musk, the worm has to turn, just because the infinite money cheat that he
I'm
has.
sorry,
he's
guys,
very-
but I have to tell you, he's put in one of his most recent video of him playing Diablo. He responded to it from his Elon Musk account and said, "Good job, smiley face," to himself.
What the fuck?
I'm sorry to
He's
interrupt
so
you, Ed,
fucking cool. Did he send that to
himself,
Like,
replied
from
to himself.
Cyber Gamer?
Himself. Oh,
Like Cyber Gamer, what's his name? Cyber Gamer
420.
420, of course.
And then
Again,
Elon
the
Musk.
E's are threes because it's that's leet speed.
The lead
Oh,
speed.
okay, that's even worse.
It's got to
He
be least
responds on
fucking-
Elon
he-
Musk with "Good job, open smiley face." You know, the dumb looking smiley.
Fucking hell, man!
I love this. God,
Fuck
this dude is
me.
insane. Oh, I love him.
That's so sad. That's so fucking sad. Like, I'd feel bad for him if he wasn't just like a nakedly evil cretin. But cretin. I nearly said
I always say-
crouton
if
there.
you
Jesus
if
Christ.
you want to be American about it, it's Cretan.
Crouton.
Crouton. Croutons.
But I think actually, to drag this back to what we were discussing before as well, I think that all of this is what consumers can see this now. The whole myth of Elon Musk was that he was this genius that made electric cars, but I think now we've publicly seen how fucking stupid he is, and thus people are way more aware of like how horrible he is, but also that his gains may have been ill-gotten.
Yeah.
That the deal isn't fair. And I think that everyone's kind of seeing that with tech. I think everyone's kind of realizing it. But Elon Musk especially, I think he is not realizing this at all, by the way. He has no concept of reality. He's just completely flying off. But it's like, I think regular people rising up against big tech, well, they're doing it because big tech fucking sucks. Yeah. It sucks bad. It sucks. And you can see it sucks, but also they're making more money than ever. They're richer than anyone has ever been, making shit worse. And I think now everyone kind of gets it.
And it is really interesting
and
seeing...
also is very pissed.
It is kind of wild seeing it. Maybe this is fueling the distrust of big tech, but watching Elon's like kind of downfall, his image downfall at the same time as people are turning on big tech. I do think that they probably go hand in hand in some way, but it's been an interesting like 3 or 4 years.
And I think that breaking up Google is a great way to start. I think it's a great way to show for the government. And it's also a popular thing. I think it's bipartisan. I think that Trump fucking hates Google. I don't think... I would love to hear him explain monopolies. You see, the company's too big. It's too big.
We like big things, folks. We love big things, but it's just a little too big.
Too big. Too big. Like the big, like closed eyes, big man. Too big.
Yeah.
Prabhagaravan.
Our arms wider than he's ever had them before.
Yeah. Oh, God.
All right, so that's probably a good enough place to wrap it.
Really quick. I just want to before. So sorry, we're going so long, but like
that's fine. Don't
at
worry.
the beginning, we were talking about the prescription. Is that the prescription is to like just break up all this big tech and move away from trusting these people? Is that your prescription to fix the world?
The real solution, other than the one you get from listening to the audiobook backwards, is actually to cap companies writ large. I don't think we should have companies this big anymore, of any kind. I think that it should be kind of like the luxury tax in sports, but bigger and nastier. Companies should be afraid of getting too big. It should be terrifying to be a big company. It should not be something they want to do. And also, I believe we need civil and criminal liability for all chief executives of companies over a certain size and all public companies without exception. I think that if CrowdStrike breaks because Microsoft gave a kernel thing over, I know someone's going to say this is not deep enough, fuck off, because Microsoft decided to outsource a core part of Windows. Satya Nadella should be at least before a fucking judge. I think that he should be at risk of losing some of the hundreds of millions of dollars he's been compensated with. Stock options should be frozen while these tribunals happen. Oh, that's too aggressive. Fuck that. Fuck them. And fuck you for disagreeing, because guess what? If fucking Satya Nadella makes, $100 million, Sundar Pichai makes $200 million and leads to someone dying, fuck that. Why don't they? They should be afraid. They should all be afraid. And the government is the mechanism for enforcing that. Companies can't be this big. And if you're paid hundreds of millions of dollars, the risk you run is that you could go to fucking prison.
I love it. I think that's the bare minimum. I think that's just the start to change and fix the world. I love it.
Yeah. And all these people think they're fucking heroes. Well, what's a hero without risk?
They're all going to jail.
That's true.
They're all going to jail, folks.
Send them to jail.
Send them to jail.
Where can the good people find you? And what do you got to plug?
Okay, you want to go to the blog, wheresyouרד.at. You want to go to the podcast, betteroffline.com. And you need media relations, easypr.com, but you probably don't. But yeah, or email me at easy, that's E, then Z or Z for the Canadian English listeners, at betteroffline.com. Send me an email or go to the Better Offline Reddit, r/betteroffline, which is a burgeoning community of people all talking about stealing stuff, because I made a joke a few times about Better Offline listeners stealing things. So please join in, talk about stealing catalytic converters.
Yeah.
Incredible.
You also forgot we have our new show with Arif coming up, which we...
Oh, yeah, but we don't have a name for it,
was
man.
Clown Post. Sorry,
No, we had to change it to something not shit. Yeah. Sorry.
I do have to say, when you guys were first pitching the show name, Clown Post, I was like, oh, that's a fun name, but it could so easily be construed as like Clown World right-wing adjacent type names.
There is a lot of problems with it.
I didn't think of that, but that is a very real problem. So we're changing it to QAnon NFL. Where we go one, we know ball.
Jesus, that's the name right there.
There it is. All right, thanks, Ed. I love you, man. I appreciate your time as always. We'll have you back on whenever you want.
I love you all.
Love you too. Thank you so much.
We'll talk soon, buddy.
Thank you.